Hello. There's lovely Robyn Harris in the room, in the house. Welcome to the Carolyn Williams Show, which is where guests, so you're one guest as I followed you, have what I call created and ignited and inspired my attention. So, Robyn, tell me who Robyn is and where you're from.
Well, I'm originally from Belfast, Northern Ireland, and then via various travels, I am now based in Wales, just outside of Abergavenny, and we're up on the Robyns, which is a kind of a Welsh mountain, but it's not a very big one. And we have 8.5 acres with fields and trees and woodland and a stream. We'll have a stream back by the end of the day, I should imagine, with the rain that we've got at the moment. But yeah, I wanted to live somewhere where I would be surrounded by green and could get back in touch with nature, because that's so much a part of what I do. And in terms of who I am, as you've seen, I am a simple being, just playing within the matrix of this human experience. And for me, simplicity is such a big thing. Keeping it simple, keeping it real. And the idea of the matrix is kind of a nod to the fact that I do matrix re-imprinting. It's one of the tools that I use. But also it's that kind of like with the film, where if we can change our beliefs and our perceptions and the way we look at the world, everything shifts, everything changes. And the human experience is that I believe we are spiritual beings in a human experience, having a human experience. That's our life. That our purpose for me is not so much about what we do, but more about how we're being here, how we're showing up, how we can be more and more me and bring that to the world. Because I think each of us has unique gifts, and that's what it's all about for me. It's reconnecting with those, connecting with those on a deeper level and bringing them out, allowing them to shine. Because I think that the world has brought about our being here in this time as the person that we are and bringing the gifts that we bring, and that they are needed in the world right now. So the more that we can connect in with them, the more we can allow them to shine and come out and share them with everybody else. Giving ourselves permission to do that gives everybody else permission to do that for themselves. And I think the world could be such a beautiful, wonderful, loving place the more that we can do that.
Yes, I think that's so applicable and appropriate for now during COVID, because I see separation and isolation, which doesn't help mental health, doesn't help the connectedness, doesn't help the soul. So on that note, explain to us the soul alignment connection experience that you give people.
I believe that we can reconnect more fully with who we really are, because I think that so often we are conditioned into being a certain way, and it might not be the way that is true for us. So we end up trying to please others, trying to fit in, living to the expectations of others and to the demands of others, and forgetting about ourselves, and maybe putting ourselves last or completely losing touch with who am I really, who is me, what are my values, rather than those that are out there in society that I'm trying to fit in with. Because that way just leaves me feeling like a square peg in a round hole, and it drains the life out of me, takes all the colour and the flavour and the joy out of life. And there's no sense of freedom to be myself, and that kind of shut in, closed down feeling versus the expansive potential that we can have when we really step into our power. And for me, our power is connection, creativity, self-care. I think self-care is so important. All of these things that just, again, share the uniqueness of who we really are. So my soul alignment mentoring work is to support people to get back to that, so that they can step out of that small, restricted sense and into that expansive potential and joy and freedom and abundance and excitement that I think we're really here for. I think life is meant to be like that. It's meant to be joyful. It's meant to be expansive and wonderful, and we're meant to be full of wonder and awe at this great experience. And that's not to say that it's always wonderful, but that even within the challenges and the difficulties, when we can be true to ourselves, when we can learn how to see those challenges as actually, this is just the universe bringing an opportunity to learn more about myself, to learn more about who I am and how I can step into that fullness of me and bring those gifts and share them and shine them for other people and give them permission to do the same for themselves.
3 very key points there about expansion, I would say growth, about being you, and about shining. And I do believe that it's therapy that's needed right now. When everything is shutting everybody down, your words are the complete and utter therapy to expand. So say, for example, yes, I shared with you the fact that I had quite a nasty fall a week ago. So if that means that the confidence is knocked, how would you go about supporting somebody who wanted to get back up again and get stronger again and to grow and expand again and to shine again?
I have a variety of different ways that I work, but for example, with that, I would explore with the person, how does it feel where you are now? So tune into your body. When you're saying that your confidence has been knocked, where are you feeling that in your body? What does it feel like? And maybe encouraging them to journal about that, to really tap into what is your body telling you on the physical, the emotional, the spiritual level. Just start writing and let it all pour out, because that gives us such insight into what's really going on. I think that our bodies hold so much wisdom, they hold so much information that we sometimes lose connection with. We lose our ability to really listen, to interpret. But the more we can tune in, the more we kind of develop a vocabulary that we start to understand our body. And our body then realizes you're listening. So it doesn't feel it needs to shout anymore. It can start to just, have you thought about this? And actually this could do with a little bit of attention here. So I would start with the looking at, where do you feel you are now? And then, where do you want to be? What would it feel like to be confident again? So getting that vocabulary for how I feel when I'm not in my best place, and then starting to dream and vision and of what it feels like. So just, you know, step into that feeling. The more we can vision and imagine, so with a whole image, with all the colors and shapes and smells and tastes, bringing in all of our senses, making it more real. The mind doesn't know the difference. The mind, whether it's reality or a vision and image, sees it both the same. And if we can, because a thought, a belief is only a thought we keep thinking, to quote Abraham Hicks. Yes. The more we can step into that image of expansion and a sense of power and autonomy and choice, and the more we can hold all of those sensations of that, the more real it becomes. And the universe kind of, it's that law of attraction. The universe brings it to us, but also our filters are there seeing the opportunities, whereas when we're all shut down, we just see blocks and closed doors. But when we can step into that expansion, even if it's only in our head to start with, and you know, you can create vision boards and do all sorts of wonderful exercises to bring that more into your reality. And also I use EFT and matrix reimprinting that I was mentioning. So it's looking as well at what's holding you back. what's stopping you from moving to from where you are with that knocked confidence and feeling small into that expansion. So sometimes if somebody's creating affirmations, they might be saying them and trying to believe them, but really at the back of their head something's going, but. Those little mind monkeys and the negative chatter. So I'm very much about listening to our self-talk and becoming very aware of it and interrupting it and reframing it and turning it around.
Yes.
But sometimes just listening to what it's actually saying in the less supportive times, it's exploring, why do I think that? Where does that come from? Whose voice is that really? Because it's not the voice of my soul self. My soul self knows that I am amazing and wonderful, and that, you know, I can be in that power. I can be in that expansiveness and creativity and choice. So where does that voice come from? How can I release it, let it go? Or as Jack Cornfield says, let it be. Mm-hmm. And if we let things be, they come and go of their own, in their own time. So that's really that's really the approach that I use. That's what it's about for me.
Excellent. You mentioned Abraham Hicks. Who would you say, if you look at 3 people that would have inspired you and you aspired to become, who would they be?
There are just too many. From my own personal life, there would be my mum. She is amazing. She started a new business. She worked in a hospital initially, and then she set up her own business in complementary healthcare, health therapies, when she was 50. So that was a huge inspiration to me. She's a healer herself, and a lot of what I do is kind of an evolution from what she did and from my learning from her. And then my boss in my first job as well, he inspired me in so many ways. He was also a healer. So, and he was about healing, because I grew up in Belfast, he was about healing the rifts that are there in that city and in the province, which was a huge, huge inspiration for me growing up during the Troubles, and really inspired me along the lines of forgiveness and compassion. And also, he just saw such potential in me, which I had never seen, because I was very low in my sense of self-worth and self-confidence, and he just kind of held up a mirror and said, no, look how amazing you are. Struggled to believe it, but he started me out on that journey, and he gave me the hope when, I mean, that's the biggest thing, when somebody is in despair, for somebody to give them hope is amazing.
Yeah.
But then in terms of well-known people, Anita Moorjani is a huge inspiration to me. The fact that she went that close to death, and she realized that dis-ease is not something that we need. We can let it go, and then our bodies can return to balance and can heal themselves. Also Marianne Williamson, because I love her famous quote about, it's not our shadow side that we're afraid of, it's actually our light. And when we can give ourselves permission to reconnect with that and shine that light, we do the same for everyone around us. We give them that permission, and therefore they can step it up too. So I think those would be my...
I like that, because it leads me into, I don't know if you know about Vishen, the leader of Mind Valley. And he has recently put forward the view from his point of view, obviously, but from his research and education in Mind Valley, that women are becoming leaders in their own rights. And it's amazing how in a man's leadership that they support each other and get together, and sometimes that thwarts the female leader. Whereas if they didn't form a coalition, that female leader who's already growing in stature would do a better job. And I just loved the fact that he was embracing women across the world who are now stepping up. So that leads me into what you've just said. It's an important time, I believe, for us to shine. What is your why, Robyn?
I think it's because I was that person who was feeling so low.
Okay.
And then, as I said, my boss shone a mirror for me and helped me to see a little bit more of my potential. And having felt so lost, so alone, being ill, physically, emotionally, my well-being was really at a low ebb and really struggling. And feeling that I was turning to so many different places and not getting the support I wanted. I was maybe getting sympathy, doctors were offering medication, I was offered counselling. None of it was what I wanted. None of it felt empowering. It felt kind of the opposite, actually. It felt like more and more of my power, my autonomy, my choice was being drained away. So I kind of turned my back on all of that and thought, I'm going to have to do it alone. And I wasn't. A lot of things came to me, a lot of connections that I made that really kind of gave me a huge boost and moved me forward. But by and large, I realized that the only thing I could change was me, and that I needed to do that work. I got fabulous input, fabulous teachings and learnings, but I was the one who had to make the change. And in doing that, I adopted and adapted a lot of tools, tips, etc. And now what I want to be able to do, my passion, is to be able to show others, you can do this too. If I can do it, you definitely can do it. These are the tools that I learned and that helped me. Feel free, if there's anything in them that works for you, take them, adopt them, adapt them. There's no one size fits all. And so that's why I love the idea of being a mentor. It's that I am here to shine a light for other people, to walk beside them on their journey, and then to watch them as they grow and spread their wings and find their own path. I'm not there to tell them what to do. I'm not there to give them a step-by-step, follow this and you'll be there. I'm there to help them find that within themselves.
Yes, I love the analogy of being the mirror. That's a lovely way of looking at it. In fact, it's a new one for me, and I thought I'd heard most, but that's a new one. So talking about people that you work with, who do you focus on as a target audience? Who is it that you treat and help?
I really focus on people who are feeling lost, overwhelmed, stressed, exhausted, and that is then leading on as having huge impacts on their physical and emotional and spiritual well-being.
Yes.
So they're feeling pretty desperate. They've maybe tried lots of other things and it's just not helping, like myself. It's just not touching the point that they need to be touched. They want something deep, not something superficial. Something that's really going to bring transformation, because they're fed up in living the way that they're living currently, feeling like that square peg in the round hole, feeling that they can never quite get it right, because they're trying probably so hard, trying too hard, but they're trying according to the expectations and systems and everything of other people, rather than looking outwards all the time.
Yes.
Rather than looking in and saying, okay, all of that is out there. That doesn't have to impact on me whatsoever. That's not my truth. My truth is in here, and I need to start listening to that. And I'm ready to do that now. So that I can be true to myself. Whatever else goes on outside, I can be true to me. That feeling of congruence and authenticity that I know I, for one, was really not in that place. I was scattered and feeling that I just didn't even know who I was anymore. But to come back to that feeling of congruence, so that everything is all lined up and going in the same direction, and that feeling of, I'm now where I should be. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, because I know it's right for me.
Yes. How do you find your clients? How do they find you? Because you're in Abergavenny, and there's a famous song, as you obviously know, about taking a trip to Abergavenny. But should people not know where Abergavenny is, how do people get in touch with you?
I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, and I also have a gorgeous Facebook group, which is the Wild Wisdom Wellbeing. That's where that comes from. And it's all about connecting with nature and learning from nature and realizing that we are so interconnected and interdependent. So for me to be fully balanced and in my best well-being, I need the environment, I need the animals, I need everything to be in that state of balance and well-being too. So being sustainable, getting back to our true wildness, which is not about being chaotic and crazy, but about that true nature, our inner nature, and following that, and providing the space and the environment for others to do the same. So like the flower, it flourishes when it's in the right compost and has the right amount of water and light. And we don't blame the flower if it fails to thrive. And yet we do that for ourselves when we're not in the right environment. So it's about providing that right environment. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. I do a lot of networking, which is now all online. I used to do a lot of face-to-face networking because, again, I just love connection. I love meeting people. I love people. People are so interesting, and their life story is so interesting. So connecting through whatever means I can. It's now, as I say, online. And I have a newsletter, I have a website, and I think as well just word of mouth.
Yes.
You know, once you start to work with people and the word then gets out. And I know that I share a lot of stuff in my group and my page and social media, which then gets passed on, and you know how that works. So that's basically how I get people. And also I think energetically, you know, you just put out, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I'm passionate about. And the right people, it touches them somewhere, somehow, even we don't know, but it just draws them in.
That reminds me of a lovely lady that was on my show a few weeks ago called Fionn Jones, and she's the author and illustrator of Fly Me Stories. And what I liked last week, which is why I asked you the question of how do people get in touch with you, she's on Instagram and she's on Facebook, was that she put a graphic of a dragon, and she'd also put a graphic of a cake. And this was because she'd attended, thank goodness, I'd brought two people together, two companies together, Sino Bounds, who are in, and I think you know them, Charlotte Abergavenny and Jamie McGanch, Sino Bounds. They had their weekend festival and they'd invited Fionn to speak. And she had created some workshops, and the children were busily twinning. So she was asking them to bring two characters together, features of the animal characters together. And then she brought out this cake, which she said was, our stories are like making a cake. And I like that because, again, it comes from children as to how they see things. It's what you put into it, it's how you mix it, it's how you do it. So the analogies are very similar there. It's about what's inside and what you therefore become. So
absolutely, and that it can be more than just the ingredients.
Yes.
So the whole is more than the sum of the parts.
Yes.
And I love when people do that with kids. I think that's so important to get the message out there at a young age when we're just learning about life, to learn it from a young age about who we really are and how to stay true to that. And I think it sets such a great role model and example of how to really live the best life that you can, and to start at that point, I think, is amazing. So I love hearing about that stuff.
Well, the fact that you work with animals lends to that in terms of children, because I can already see the connection between the dog, the horse, and the cat, and twinning it with another animal and creating a character and an image. So do you use art at all in any of your tools?
A little bit. I would bring it in maybe if somebody was a visual person. So I look very much at a person's kind of learning style or their characteristics, whether they're visual, auditory, kinesthetic, all of those things. I know that for myself, it was a big part of my journey, but kind of informally, because I was thinking about this over the last few days. And there was a time when I was bedridden because of my the impact on my physical and emotional well-being. I had ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue, and I was bedridden for about 8 weeks, and I was just so much in the dumps that I used to draw, and I drew a series of kind of like you would have in a hotel to hang up the doorknob. So there was one where it was Garfield the cat doing a full face plant saying nap time, and there was one where it was just a pile of rubbish saying this is how I feel today. You know, just getting that out in a visual form really, I think, helped me enormously. I wasn't aware of it at the time, but looking back now, I think that being able to express things that I couldn't put into words by drawing pictures. And I'm very much, I use color in my work.
Yes.
So I'm very much about images and visioning and color and bringing things alive in that way and expressing things when maybe we can't do it in words.
You mentioned how people get in touch with you because you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and you have a group, which I think is really healthy, because if you've got a group, then they're going to speak for you and about you and share things for you. How would you describe yourself as a digital entrepreneur? Do you have an answer for that one? Because some people struggle with it.
Yeah, I would probably struggle. I've been using social media, probably mostly Facebook. I do a fair bit on Instagram, not so much on LinkedIn. I'm starting to grow on that. Got my website. So I'm not a starter, but I'm not technically minded. And I have done newsletters and things. I've done them on MailChimp, and I always say it's been blood, sweat, and tears trying to get things the way I want them. But it's all learning, and I'm learning so much more, and I'm so much more familiar with them, and actually enjoy them now. And my favorite is Canva. So it's just a demonstration of how much I love images and how much I think a picture can speak 1,000 words. So not a startup, but I'm certainly not at the other end of that spectrum. I'd be probably somewhere in the middle.
It's becoming more prevalent in terms of COVID, you know, that people are using Zoom and therefore are now realizing that they've got to have that virtual face. So from that point of view, where would you say your Robyn Harris's happy places?
My happy place is here where I am in Wales. Well, actually, I probably have a few, but at the moment with COVID and everything, I've been actually loving being stuck here, because I'm so blessed with where we are. We moved here because I wanted to be surrounded by green and out in nature, and I'm much more outdoors now, having 2 horses to care for. And even though we got weather like this, where it's raining and it's not so warm as it was, the temperature has really dropped, I'm still outdoors a lot, and I find I feel a lot better. Whereas before I would have sat indoors and thought, thank goodness I don't have to go out in that. I'm actually finding that being out in that helps me feel better.
Yes.
Which was not what I expected. So yeah, being here, we're not overlooked at all. You can't see another building. So it's fantastic for the workshops that I do, the retreats that I offer, when we can have, you know, people and travel again. But yeah, here would definitely be a happy place for me, but also Ireland. We were talking earlier about Sligo, and when I was growing up, I lived in Belfast, but we had family in other parts of Ireland, and we would travel over to the west coast a fair bit. So we'd have holidays in Donegal, my grandfather had a boat in Sligo in Mullaghmore, and so we'd be there every summer. And those beaches, there's not another beach in the world like the beaches on the west coast of Ireland. And the sunsets then, obviously, because you get them in the west, out where the sun's then just dipping into the sea as it goes down. So I think those would be my happy places. Outdoors, nature, sea, the woods, with animals.
How often do you get a chance to go back to Ireland?
Not as much as I would like, not as much as sometimes I feel I need my little Irish recharge, but I think I'm slowly moving westwards as well, because I lived in Dartford for a while, I lived in Bristol, and now I'm in Abergavenny, I think. And also because Wales is quite Celtic, and Ireland obviously being Celtic as well, I feel much more at home here. But yeah, I still miss home.
I know this might be a difficult question to answer, but it's an intriguing one. When you work with animals, as a healer, as an alignment in terms of their soul and who they are, and you work with humans, how do you draw that balance between the two?
What do you mean by balance?
How do you see working with them is different or the same?
For me, it's all one. Because for me, we are all one. And I'm very much about nature, so the trees, the water, everything that's out there, and the animals and ourselves, we're all one. We're all interconnected. We're all interdependent. So unless there's balance in one, there can't be balance, full balance in another. So my Wild Wisdom Wellbeing group is all about that, and how it's about exploring how can we bring that balance, how can we be more conscious in our decisions about what we buy, what we use, how we use it, not exploiting, but interacting, relating with the things. And I love like the Native Americans or any Native peoples, how they see the things around them as being, you know, my cousin, my brother, my sister, if it's a tree or if it's an animal, that we're all just part of this one big family. And to have that respect. So it doesn't matter whether it's a human being or a spider or something that we might have culturally been told that's not got as much worth. Well, why not? It's another being. It's another piece of life. And because I think we're all just those little, like the ocean, the sparkles on the waves on the ocean, we're all just those little sparkles of life. And it's about respecting those and seeing that actually we're not that different.
That's a
wonderful, we aren't genetically either.
Absolutely. And what a wonderful core value that is in terms of oneness. That is something that currently is what I'm looking at on lockdown rules, that one is aware of being oneness and it isn't about separation. And I thank you so much for attending my show. It's been a pleasure for me, and I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I wish you a wonderful journey in your new place in Wales. And I can see already that you're happy, so continue the happiness.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's been lovely to meet and connect with you too.
We'll continue, we'll share the connection.
Fabulous. I look forward to that.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.